I'm Jeanette Caines from Jewelry Arts Inc. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to arrange and lay out and glue your fine silver granules in preparation for granulation.
So we now have a lovely low dome and little back sheet. And what I am going to do though is take my pliers and just grab one of those corners and turn it up again so that we have a handy handle. Like that.
You don't really need much.
No, I'll just make sure that's enough. You know what I mean? As long as you can pick it up comfortably, life is good. And also, look at this gorgeous little, like I'm obsessed with these little bottles because I use them for everything because I have so many little tiny things that I need to keep separate by size or carat or whatever the hell I'm doing. So all we did is, Susie made a bunch of granules on a charcoal block out of fine silver. We used my famous paper plate method to put them in here, which I don't know if we've ever recorded, so one of these days we're gonna have to do the paper plate method. So all I told her is like put a little water in here and we're gonna shake this baby up, but good, to get rid of as much of the extra charcoal. If there's like a tiny bit left in there, it's not the end of the world, but you know, you wanna get rid of that. See? And it's also fun because you get to like, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. And then we'll go to the sink and very carefully rinse off the water. This is the kind of thing when you have these little things, you go and you turn the faucet on like big force of water, kablamo, granules everywhere, so you don't want that. You can also use one of the little tea strainers if you want and put it underneath it as a precautionary measure. Like, let me just grab one and show you because you see what I'm saying. You can like, and I can also dump them out in here if I want to get rid of some of that charcoal. You see how now, even though now I'm dripping on you guys, which I apologize, you know, the water's nice and clean because charcoal is light. So for the most part, if you agitate the water a bit and whatever, you know, the excess kind of floats away. Okay? And you don't have to use a tea strainer. I've done it plenty of times without it, but
I will always use a tea strainer.
I do it in a very cautious way from years of bitter experience. Because I swear to God, I feel like if I lose one granule, I'm gonna like go ape shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, no! So at any rate. So I'm gonna dump off a tiny bit of the excess water, but it can still be wet. Like water is fine. You can store your granules in water if you want. Because you need water to set them up anyway. So, all right? Okay.
We'll go
So, we're gonna start setting up our granules now.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna show you another method that took me many years to figure out, which is never set up your granulation right on your bench because granules will roll off, they will fall on the floor, and then the aforementioned ape shit will occur. So what I usually use is like little condiment dishes. You can use little soy sauce dishes. You can use a paper plate. Okay. Just do it on something that the edge curves up because, yes, it took me a long time to figure out a incredibly simple solution to the problem of the fucking granules rolling all over the place. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start setting up our granules. Now, we will glue, absolutely, but you don't put the glue on to start. You set up all your granules with just water until they're where you want them to be, then we glue at the end. Because if you set up your granules with glue, you'll end up with too much glue. The secret to using the glue successfully, which we'll go through that whole, you know, thing, is to use a super minimal amount. So, if you're gluing right away, it's no good. You only glue when you're committed.
Okay.
Okay? I mean, the glue isn't permanent. It's just a way to hold it in place on the way to the kiln. But just a little tiny bit, which I will show you the exact right amount, which is a little tiny bit.
Say again.
Little tiny bit. You put it in the kiln and everything starts to bubble up and move. You've added too much glue. Okay. So we're gonna use just some like little paintbrush. Just make sure it's clean, that it's not a brush you've used for anything like ochre or gross or anything, because any kind of little dirt you get in here will fuck up your process. Okay? Because granulation is fussy. Okay, so I'm gonna dump off some of this excess water. Excuse me, this has gotten very suggestive. I apologize in advance. Because usually if I know I'm going to put a bunch of granules on there, I just kind of pour some on. and then start arranging. Like, in other words, I'm not going to pick them up one at a time out of here and put them on my dome and then put them in position. I'm going to do that. I'm going to mop off a little of the extra water, and then I take my brush and start arranging everything.
Okay.
Because yes, to pick up each granule individually
Oh, wow.
will again ape shit. So you see how it's a little wet, so everything will move. And the water is essential because it helps them to cling to each other and cling in place. And you'll notice if they get completely dry, like they won't cooperate. Okay. So for example, let's say that I wanted to do a row around the outside. You see, if there's a little water, you can just kind of take them. You know, they're not that hard to deal with. But you see what I mean. Do not pick them up one at a time. You'll go mental.
And if I need more, once I've
Yeah,
started,
you can just
am I
you can just
pouring
add
anything?
some. You can pour. You can like do this where you stick your brush in there, you know, and get a few on.
Gotcha.
You know, I'm just saying, like, if you're going to use a ton of little tiny ones, think in numbers rather than individually. And if at any point you come across some charcoal, you know, that's what the clean water is here for, just to kind of get rid of that. Okay? So you see what I mean? Like, it doesn't take that long to go through and start getting a line
Right.
of them around the edge.
Right,
And
right,
we
right.
can do little triangles above or whatever you want to do.
Is it harder to do around, at like almost like a petal? Would that be harder, like flower as opposed to?
Well, you're going to find out. I mean, but in other words, we're going to play around with it. Put it this way.
Okay.
There are certainly shapes that granules want to make. They
Okay.
love to make pyramids. Which is
Okay.
why you see so much ancient granulation with those pyramids, because the
Okay.
granules want to do that.
Okay, I wanna give
Straight
them what they
lines, they do not want to do that.
I see.
If there's a wire, fine. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, just like a free-floating single line, that is the hardest thing to do in granulation. Fortunately, I don't usually want a straight line, or at least I tell myself that, so it's all good. But so you're gonna play around with it
Okay.
a little bit, and you know, we're just going to find an arrangement that you like.
Okay.
If you're sitting here and doing it, it dries out, you just, you know, take a little drop of water and add it to it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, this is good.